I am son of migrant workers. My parents were working very, very hard in very, very difficult conditions. Not in Qatar, in Switzerland. I remember very well, and I'm not 150 years old, and I'm not speaking about apartheid in South Africa. I remember very well where the migrant workers in Switzerland were living, how they were living, what rights they had or they didn't have. And I'm not 150 years old yet, even if some think I am 150 years old. I remember as a child how migrant workers were treated when they wanted to enter the country, to look for work at the border. I remember what happened with their passports, with their medical checks, with their accommodation. And when I came to Doha, the first time after I was elected FIFA president, I went to see some of these workers' accommodations here. And I was brought back to my childhood. And I said to the people here in Qatar, well, this is not good, this is not right. We need to do something about it. And the same as Switzerland today has become an example of inclusion, of tolerance, of nationalities working together with rights. Qatar has made progress as well. I will come back to that. Because I feel many other things as well. Of course, I'm not Qatari, I'm not Arab, I'm not African, I'm not gay, I'm not disabled, I'm not really a migrant worker. But I feel like them because I know what it means to be discriminated, to be bullied as a foreigner in a foreign country. As a child at school, I was bullied because I had red hair and I had these red, how do you call them?
Freckles.
Freckles. Sorry?
Freckles.
Freckles, yes, I don't even know the term. I was bullied, of course, for that. Plus I was Italian, so imagine. Didn't speak good German. And what do you do then? You lock yourself down, you go into your room, you cry. And then you try to make some friends. And you try to speak, to engage. And you try to get these friends to engage as well with others. And others and others. You don't start accusing, fighting, insulting. You start engaging. And this is what we should be doing. I feel as well very much for all the FIFA staff, for all the Supreme Committee staff, for all the Q22 staff, for all the volunteers, Brian here, all the others, those who are there. They are all here because they want to deliver to you and to the world an incredible football event. They are all proud to be here. I'm proud to have this FIFA sign on my jacket. It's not easy every day to read all these critics for decisions which have been taken 12 years ago when nobody of us was there, and now everyone knows that we have to make the best out of it, and we have to make the best World Cup ever. And Doha is ready, Qatar is ready. It will be the best World Cup ever, of course, because you know better than me, the magic of football, as soon as this ball rolls, people will concentrate on that, because that's what people want. So I applaud all those who are engaged here. More than 100,000 people are caring for you, for all the 1.5 million fans coming from abroad, 1.5 million from here, in terms of giving them the necessary security, advice, help, food, cleaning, everything. And they are all proud to do that. They are all proud to do that. And I thank them for doing that. What is sad is that, especially in the last weeks, we have been assisting on, in some places, a real lesson of moral, of double moral, I would say. So let's start with the migrant workers, if you allow me. We are told many, many lessons from some Europeans, from the Western world. I'm European. Actually, I am European. Not just I feel European. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons to people. I came here 6 years ago and addressed the matter of migrant workers straight on at my very first meeting. How many of these European or Western business companies who earn millions and millions from Qatar or other countries in the region, billions every year, how many of them have addressed migrant workers' rights with the authorities? I have the answer to you. None of them. None of them. Because any change in the legislation means less profit. Instead of 1 billion, well, you maybe make only 900 million. But we did. And FIFA generates much, much, much less than any of these companies from Qatar. We see here as well many government representatives from many countries coming to Qatar. I don't have to defend in any way whatsoever Qatar. They can defend themselves. I'm defending football here and injustice. They all come because it happens that the country with just had sand and some pearls in the sea, well, actually they found that they have something that is worth much more. It's gas. If there was no gas, nobody would care. But now they all come, and they all want something. And who is actually caring about the workers? Who? FIFA does. Football does. The World Cup does. And to be fair to them, Qatar does as well. I was at an event a few days ago where we explained what we are doing in this World Cup for disabled people. Today, I don't know how many journalists we have here.
Say that again.
How many journalists are here?
We've got about 400.
400 journalists are here. That event was covered by 4 journalists, probably. there is 1 billion disabled people in the world. 1 billion disabled people. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. 15% of the world population is disabled. Nobody cares. 4 journalists. You think they don't suffer, so we don't have to care? But workers suffer, LGBT suffer, of course. But disabled people don't. Of course they do. And of course we have to care, and of course we have to do things to help them as well, like we have to do for the workers, for LGBT, and for any minority, anyone that is in any way suffering or being abused. So speaking about workers, I bumped into migrants, a study, not a FIFA study, a Human Rights Watch study. One of these companies that I think is also criticizing certainly FIFA, certainly rightfully, many times, I guess. Well, that study says, basically, that because of the European migration policy, 25,000 migrants died since 2014, in 8 years. 1,200 only this year. Human beings died. So, if we take 2 steps back of this, I also wonder, but I will come back to that, why nobody asked for a compensation to be paid for the families of these migrants who die. Maybe their life is not worse the same. Where are we going? Where are we going with our way of working, guys? We have to ask this ourselves. Where is the world going? So if we go 2 steps back and we look at this issue of migration and the situation of hundreds of thousands of women and men from developing countries who would like to offer their services abroad in order to help and give a future to their families back home. Well, Qatar is actually offering them this opportunity. Hundreds of thousands of workers from developing countries come here. They earn 10 times more than what they earn in their home country. And they help their families to survive. And they do it in a legal way. We in Europe, we close our borders and we don't allow practically any worker from these countries who have obviously very low income to work legally in our countries, because we all know there are many illegal workers in our European countries, living in conditions which are also not really the best. So those who reach Europe, or those who want to go to Europe, they have to go through a very difficult journey. Only a few survive. So if Europe would really care about the destiny of these people, of these young people, well, then Europe could also do as Qatar did, create some channels, legal channels, where at least a number, a percentage of these workers could come to Europe, low revenues, but give them some work, give them some future, give them some hope. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't point at what doesn't work. Here in Qatar as well, of course, there are still things that don't work and that need to be addressed. But this moral lesson giving, one-sided, it's just hypocrisy. So I wonder why nobody recognizes the progress that has been made. Since 2016, the kafala system was abolished, minimum wages were introduced, heat protection measures were taken. ILO, international unions, acknowledge that, but media don't. Or some don't. It's difficult for a worker who comes to Qatar to go back home because thanks to him coming here, even in difficult situations, which were comparable to situations of European migrants in Europe a few decades ago. But thanks to that, he can make his family live in his country because he earns 10 times or even more here. So why? Why couldn't we do something like this in Europe and do something much better for many more people all over the world? So, I really don't understand, or have difficulties to understand this criticism. I think we need to invest in helping these people, of course. I will come back to that. We need to invest in education to give them a better future, to give them more hope. Speaking about the workers or their children. But I'm speaking about all of us. We should all educate ourselves. And whilst many things are not perfect, reform and change takes time. It took hundreds of years in our countries, in Europe, where we think we've achieved the top. I wonder if that's the case. It takes time everywhere, and the only way of obtaining results is by engaging, searching the dialogue, not by hammering, insulting. When your child does something bad at school, and you tell him you're an idiot, you're useless, and you put him in his room, what do you think his reaction will be? If you engage with him, if you speak to him, if you ask him why you did this, let's work together and you will have better grades or whatever, he will recognize that, and he will be better. I don't want to give you any lessons of life. I'm just realizing that what is going on here is profoundly unjust. Many international organizations, ILO, ITOC, BWI, have recognized that the worker standards here are similar to those in Western Europe. To those in Western Europe. The salaries might be lower, but the worker standards, the safety and security are similar. I've never read this anywhere, except in the reports of these organizations. These are important steps. This was not the case 10 years ago. It is the case now. Let's see what happens as well in the next 10 years. And in this respect, since we speak about workers, then I will move to other topics as well. I think it will be longer than 45 minutes. But we have time. The World Cup kicks off only tomorrow night. Let me tell you 3 things regarding workers. Since I was receiving there as well many, or even personal, I don't know how to call it, almost threats. There was a demand somewhere about the center or whatever, because workers don't know where to go if they have questions and if they need help. And I'm very pleased, I don't know where you have the text, do I have it here? Yes. I'm very pleased